What's going on, card fighters? So this is the fabled match video that I did tell you guys I was gonna commentate. I feel like this is just the best match I had all day playing the Vermillion deck, and I feel like it was a pretty good match overall. Plus, you guys get to see shout outs to Eddie. You get to see my buddy Ed's AVANTGARDA deck, and I know that's a deck that quite a few of you guys have been looking forward to seeing on this channel as well. So just killing two birds with one stone here, just like basically like canceling out a deck that I was potentially thinking about playing, but I guess overall decided against it just because there are just some key like I wouldn't say necessarily like overall consistency problems, but just like generating card advantage and slash like actually creating like a really big push turn. This the problems I had. Like this was round one of the tournament, and then like every round it progressively got harder and harder to close out games. So you can see that I discarded he discarded the cycle card here, so he's gonna get a draw off here, added to his search. You do see I discard Eternal Thunderbolt here. That is gonna be your main discard fodder for this deck, either Eternal Thunderbolt or the Rising Phoenix. It's gonna get a crit here. We get a Rising Phoenix and a heal, so we're at 20 to his 20, or 18 to his 20, and we just take it and we get a defensive draw here. To draw for turn. And the card that I have face down is just Eternal Thunderbolt. I just have like my discard ready to go. And like more or less what I'm gonna do on my turn ready to go. Just cause Ed is a slightly slower player. Not a neg on him at all. I do enjoy playing against him, but I try to play as fast as possible just to maximize our time together. Plus, he's a very intelligent guy, and I believe he just has one of those minds that has to go through every possible scenario. And I'm not knocking him at all. Like he's gone to Worlds, so he obviously he's been here before. You know what I mean? Older player, been here before. He's gonna get another search and order card and then draw off the cycle card here. He's gonna set the grade 2 order here and then immediately put it into soul. This is the in the Avantgarda deck, this is the first set order you do want to use normally, unless your opponent has an annoying rear guard, because it does shut down intercepts and blitz orders. But I've been really cheeky lately and just decided this format is the format that I can get away with not playing blitz orders at all, or playing the blitz order PG at all, just because I feel like DPGs are just overall just like way too strong. This format's really swingy, and there's no real decks that have like very annoying, no like decks that are too prominent right now that have guard restrict, and the stride deck sets aren't too prominent right now either. That's the only reason why I feel like I can get away with it. He's gonna swing here. I am just gonna immediately perfect guard this. I thought about Tuta passing it, but I just go for the perfect guard for the safer route, discarding Eternal Thunderbolt here. He gets a front trigger and a chalice. He's gonna swing here for 20. We guard with a 15, and he's gonna swing for 30. We do take that attack, and we get a heal trigger, so we heal the draw. I think ultimately I decide to discard a 15 here. Oh no, I discard the grade 1 here. I was being a little bit greedy. I feel like with this deck, you're a little bit forced to play a little more greedily than you're necessarily comfortable with. Just trying to mid max all your plays. The ride line here lets us search top 7 for an Arakami unit and add it to our hand. We add Death Scythe. And then we're gonna play the order from the drop by binding it, and then since we bound a card, we get Soul Blast 1 and Superior Call the Phoenix from the drop zone. Once we clear his front row, the order card is gonna give a plus 5k buff to our front row rear guards. And that's a continuous effect. Oh, on our turn, continuous effect. We're gonna go ahead and play, what's her name? Lily, something like that. It's gonna be top 5, either Superior Call 1 or add an order card, a normal order card to our hand. We're gonna Superior Call another bird here. I'm gonna call another Lily here. And then I believe I add Eternal Thunderbolt here just because there was no other prime targets to Superior Call. Just a very versatile card, and overall one of the better cards in the deck. But it does have an in-engine way of dealing with its soul problem, but this deck really like burns the candles at both ends when it comes to using its soul. Then I use my Vanguard skill to give 5k to 2 Narukami units. He 2 passes us here. I'm attacking his entire front row per Vermillion's effect. I give the power to Vanguard and the crit to one of my rear guard Lilies, and then I get a heal trigger so the attack goes through on the Vanguard, and then we're going to discard 1 per Vermillion's effect to ping him another damage. My reasoning here for giving because now I can still threaten lethal. That was like kind of like what I was trying to go for here. Even if my Vanguard attack didn't go through, I could swing with my other rear guard first, potentially put him to 4 and still threaten lethal. That's what I was going for when I decided to give the crit to rear guard. Because I knew even if the attack didn't hit, I would still be able to burn him for 1 damage off of Vermillion's effect. And we're just going to swing with the non-crit lane. He takes it and gets a heal, so he goes back down to 4, which is fine. And this is the turn where like we're at 1 damage, but we just get we're at 1 damage here, and if we had 1 perfect guard, we would like survive this turn no problem. But the 1 perfect guard we used on his turn 3 was the only perfect guard that we drew into for the game 1. So because of his drive checks, we just get we go from 1 to 6 here. It's pretty insane. He's going to use the promo here to get one of his strategy order cards and add it to hand. It's from deck or drop. I thought it immediately said it, but it adds to hand, and I'm like, man, I was like, man, this card's insane. It just immediately sets it, and I'm like, oh no, it adds to hand. I guess that's fine. It's fair. He's just mulling over exactly what he wants to do here. He doesn't have like the craziest hand in the world. And AVANTGARDA generally doesn't like it when you mess with its rear guards. It really doesn't care too much what its rear guards are. It just wants rear guards. Or at least like a front row and a back row just to min-max your power. And you see he's forced to call a heal trigger here just so he's still able to like pressure me. Which he hits the OT here. I think he ends up giving the 100 million to the heal trigger here, and then obviously the Vanguard's crit and powers doubled. So I think he said it was like 66k in total, and then the OT did not kill us. I just want you guys to know that the over trigger did not kill us here. What killed us here was his second draft check, because his Vanguard's only dealing us 2 damage. We're at 1 damage here, and I was like, this is tough, but it's manageable. And then he checks a crit, and I'm like, oh, okay, GG. Oh man, we were so close to living, but like I couldn't deal with that 100 million. The fact that this attack like deals me 3 damage instead of 2 is literally what kills us. And I was like, oh my god, insane. But you know, if that's like in an astronomical scenario where like if it's out of your hands, it's out of your hands. You just have to try and play to the best of your ability. And I believe I had my own overtrigger in hand here, and I used it to guard his Vanguard swing. He told me his Vanguard was 66, so I guard it here for 78. Or no, 68. I wanted to pass his Vanguard here just because we had to. That was the only way we would be able to just still guard his rear guard swing. Damn, I had to use 4 15s and a 5k. And then yeah, we didn't have a perfect guard for the last attack, so we're just gonna go ahead and automatically go into game 2 here. Man, and we had such a commanding lead too. Just because of like, not only was I pressuring him, but I was also like getting like key triggers on top of what I was doing. Vermillion, honestly, at first I thought Vermillion, probably like in set 11 format, Vermillion was like an okay tier 2 deck, But in set 12 format, man, like, oh man, things are just so powerful in set 12 format. And it just feels like Vermillion's end board just isn't enough, in my personal opinion. Vermillion feels like a really good, like it's really good at what it does, but at what it does doesn't just. It's like a hair away from being enough, in my personal opinion. But the only reason I was taking it into consideration is just because it has a good matchup at disrupting what certain decks want to do. For example, like Ava and what's another deck that Vermillion messes with? There was another deck, but Ava's obviously the key one. Oh, and Gandiva it has a pretty fine Gandiva matchup, which it's funny because I faced a Gandiva player in round two, and just playing the Gandiva matchup, it was it was all right. It just like basically like you just clear their board, and Gandiva doesn't like it when you clear its board. It's one of those. It's like kind of one of those control decks that like it wants to like disrupt your board, but it hates it when you do it to to itself. But it didn't feel like any better than any other deck I would play against Gandiva, in my personal opinion. Let me search the grade 1 order here. And he's just going to swing at me for 10. I believe I just opt to take it. And we get a defensive draw here. It didn't matter, his rearguard wasn't hitting. Discard Eternal Thunderbolt, which you really do want to open up with like at least one Eternal Thunderbolt as discard fodder. Even though that you're searching it, like if you open up with before you mulligan Eternal Thunderbolts, I would keep at least one. In my personal opinion, my experience playing this deck. So I activate Eternal Thunderbolt from the drop zone while binding it. Now I'm gonna act. Oh, Latifah, that's her name. I was calling her Lulu. Her name's Latifah. So we're gonna call the grade 2 Red River here. He's gonna get us. He's gonna give us a soul charge. So he's part of our in-engine soul charging that the deck is capable of doing because it just soul blasts so much with Latifah and what's it called? The bird, which I do have a bird in hand. Immediately pop off the bird. I'm going to give Latifah a 5k. Then I'm going to CB1, give 5k to my Vanguard and to my Rearguard Murakami off of my VG's effect. And I just start swinging. Swinging has 2 front row units. We get a crit here. And I drop his dice and it goes all the way across the room. So I literally leap up from my seat to get it. Because I asked Ed before the match, is it okay if I use his dice? And he told me yes. And like I fling it across to the other side of the store, and I'm just like, man, I'm sorry, and I just go grab it. I couldn't leave it there. And then since we bound something, we get a superior call for a Soul Blast Rising Phoenix. And this is 35, and my other column is 38, so it didn't really matter which order I attacked in. He perfect guards here. Doesn't want to go to 5 this early, which is understandable. Understandable, but I would almost I'd almost argue that in this matchup, just because I am able to like guarantee burn you for a damage as long as you're not at 5, there could have been an argument for him to take that attack there just to save the perfect guard for next turn. I don't think I kill him next turn, but maybe it would have prolonged the match. And like in the back of my head, I think I'm at 2 damage and I have access to 1 perfect guard, and in the back of my head I'm just like, man, I hope he doesn't do it again. Obviously he doesn't get the guarantee to restand unless his Vanguard hits, but I was actually thinking about trying to 2-to pass his Vanguard, But obviously, if I try to tutor past his Vanguard, then that's just going to open the floodgates to what if he just goes all effects, all effects. So the safest thing for me to do is the perfect guard, even though that's the only perfect guard I have access to with no guarantee to get another one. But you could say that about any deck. But that was like my thought process going about his turn 3. He's going to go ahead and search the grade 3 set order here. That card is so good, man. It's a beat stick and a searcher from Decker Drop. So good. Such a good card. Not too expensive either. Last time I saw her, there was quite a few copies of her on TCG, and she was going around like the $10 to $12 range. I bought mine for like $12.50 a piece. Calls a Hathaway here, but he wants to make a column, which is understandable, because he doesn't have to commit anything else. Because now he has a rear guard that's going to be swinging for 23, 28 if his Vanguard gets to restand. And I just automatically shotgun the perfect guard here. And he just draft checks more copies of the same card. I'm crying. And then he just swings at me for 23 here. I don't... the only reason I guard is just because it was a very easy 15k shield guard. I don't necessarily need more than one counterblast a turn. Yeah, I don't need more than one counterblast a turn with this deck. I don't think I've ever counterblasted more than twice in one turn. So we P-Ride here. We're gonna go ahead and use the bird. Oh, I'm gonna call out Death Scythe first. Use the bird here. I thought Death Scythe effect only worked for what's it called? For front row, if there was like not a front row unit to bind. Turned out Death Scythe, like, he has to bind if there's a unit, if there's a rear guard to bind in general. It's the grade 1 that if there's not a back row, you get to do the secondary effect, which Death Scythe's secondary effect is a draw. So I am gonna go ahead and swing for his rear guard column here in addition to his Vanguard. My only reasoning for this was that so that Latifah's able to get her 10k on swing per her effect, because she gets 5k for every open rear guard circle in the same column as her. So he did heal there off my Vanguard's attack, which he took, but then we ping him a damage off of my Vanguard's effect. So essentially putting him back down to 5. But that defensive does help him. I do not kill him here. Guards for 48. And then I believe this is just 40. What I was trying to do here was I was just trying to play around him, him perfect guarding the larger column. Which maybe in hindsight my lines are just too weak for me to take that into consideration. He P-rides here. Plays a grade 3 set order, immediately uses it for AVANTGARDA's effect, so now his front row is essentially going to be at a plus 20. Now that the AVANTGARDA deck plays so many grade 2s, I low-key feel like the grade 2 version of the build is viable again. Which I believe that's the version that Eddie's playing here. But the only reason I'm hesitant towards that build is just I feel like that build just promotes deck out if the game goes on long enough. And you already see how low his deck is here. And he's just basically going for a final push here. Which, to be fair, he did kill me from 1, so it's completely possible he can kill me from 2. Drove check 2 perfect guards is pretty nice there for Ed. The only reason I no guard his Vanguard here is just because I'm at 3 and he only gets 1 check, so even if he checks the OT, the Vanguard swing does not kill me. And we get a defensive here, which is very clutch. Because our hand is... I'm looking at our hand is not sexy at all. I believe we have to use everything here. Draw, hold on to Persona Ride. We top deck a Perfect Guard, which is funny. Play the order card here. We'll just resurrect ourselves a Phoenix. CB1. I'm gonna give a 5k to Vanguard and a 5k to the grade 2 Red River in the front row. And I thought about maybe calling a booster behind my Vanguard, but again, I attacked the column here just to try to get the value off of Latifah. In hindsight, I maybe should have attacked the front row instead of the column to give 5k to my 2 front row rear guards, just so that they both hit overall better numbers. Because this hits 38, my other column only hits 33. Which, to be fair, that was a technical misplay on my part, because if I swung at the front row there instead, Latifah would have given herself +5 anyway, because it would have seen the empty front row circle. So Latifah would have been 38 regardless, and then the other column would have also been 38. So that was a technical misplay on my part. I just realized that. Going on to game 3, I do believe he decides to go first here, which is understandable. AVANTGARDA is a house going first. Just like threatening a restanding Vanguard and basically forcing your opponent to Perfect Guard is very, very good. So you see me pitch Eternal Thunderbolt here. I didn't really figure out until like round 3. Until round 3, I didn't really figure out that you just want to like have the extra Eternal Thunderbolts in hand as discard fodder, which I believe I just drew another one anyway. Draw. Oh no, I don't think I have the Eternal Thunderbolt in hand. No. Yeah, so we discard an extra Latifah here. Draw for going second. We draw an Eternal Thunderbolt. Drive check a Death Scythe. There's no, I've been thinking about, my AVANTGARDA list. I noticed that that most JP lists that I've seen are running that Dragon Tree grade 1. I would rather run a better grade 1. Like, I've been looking through the decklog database, and there wasn't like a good generic, like pretty much generically free, grade 1 booster that I saw for, Brandgate. Because it would just make better numbers with your grade 2 rearguards. Because essentially you're just running like 8 grade 2s that are 20k beat sticks. So we discard Eternal Thunderbolt here and search Eternal Thunderbolt, and this is when time is... Oh no, time got called on Eddie's turn, so he's turn 0 and I'm turn 1. Call out Red River here. We Soul Charge, give the Red River 5k. And we Soul Charge and give another Red River 5k. Okay, so now I understand my reasoning for not keeping certain cards in hand. I was just trying to go for, like, basically, because I knew time was getting close, so I was just trying to sculpt my hand around the early game. So we're going to swing for 15 here. I debated putting the grade 1 behind my Vanguard, but I didn't wanna have all my attacks die to a defensive like his did. That's to intercept the Vanguard of 5k, and we attack with 23 here. So right now he's at 2. This is turn 2, so this is his last turn. Which is pretty unfortunate. It's sad that we didn't get to have like a real last game, but this is locals. I know not a lot of local tournaments do best of 3, but the 2 locals that I do attend do best of 3. So I guess time is like a little bit more prevalent than normally. But then again, like in regular best of 1, you only get 25 minutes versus I believe they were doing 45 for best of 3. So I feel like even in best of 1, you would still blow the time. He's just doing double search here to save time because we are on we only do have 10 minutes for time, and then after that 10 minutes it would be declared a draw if there was no winner. So he's going to swing for AVANTGARDA here for 38. Now, there could have been a couple different ways that I could have guarded here, but I really didn't want his Vanguard to restand. Like, my hand, I basically used my whole hand to guard his Vanguard attack, which would low-key get punished if he put triggers on the rear guard instead of the Vanguard here. But because we're in time, I believe was just trying to go for the slightly more high roll risk play to just like solidify the match for him. Because if his Vanguard did restand here, I'm not sure I would still win. So he attacks for 15, we guard with 2 5Ks, and then he swings for 25, I believe, and we take that attack. Pitch Eternal Thunderbolt here, ride, and then we're going to top 7 search for a Murakami. I'm trying to do this all as fast as possible because I don't want our 10-minute timer to go off before I'm able to try and finish out the game. Which one benefit of playing Murakami is if you do get into time and you do make it to Vermillion, even if they do guard Vermillion's attack, you're able to still ping your opponent a damage if you played a order card that turn. So we're going to activate Eternal Thunderbolt here, resurrect the chicken. I'm going to call Latifah here. I believe I was just trying to like deck thin and go for not necessarily high roll, but just try and get better stuff. Which I do get a Death Scythe here. Give 5k to 2 Narakamis, give 5 to Death Scythe, 5 to my Vanguard. I'm going to give 5 to Latifah off the chicken. And I'm going to give a plus 10 overall to the Death Scythe off the chicken. Now I'm going to swing at his front row for 18, which he 2 to passes the Vanguard here. Yeah, he 2 to passes the Vanguard here. We get double Eternal Thunderbolt, but we still are able to ping him for a damage. Which I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I believe he is able, because he did draft check a perfect guard. So I believe if it wasn't for me automatically pinging him a damage, he would be able to guard these 2 attacks. And then as long as we didn't go over the 10 minutes, which I believe as my turn was going, the 10 minute, like we had like 1 minute left, or like less than a minute left, but I believe he would have been able to survive, and then like win basically like through like First Blood or Sudden Death, which I'm not sure if this locals did do First Blood, because not everyone does do First Blood after turns. But yeah, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, guys. Tell me what you thought about the match. I thought it was pretty cool playing the Vermillion deck. It is not as good as I initially thought it was at first, but it was still a very interesting deck to pilot. And let me know what you guys think about it down below. There wasn't much changes. We do have a deck profile, which I am going to link at the end of the video, but there wasn't much changes from the profile. I just slotted in like the one new card from set 12. But anyways, guys, have a good night.